"You're not our son. You're our sponsor," Mom joked on Easter, right after I spent $18,000 covering their bills. Then my sister, the golden child, handed me a mug with their shared advice: stop asking why. Just pay and smile. So I took their advice and did this. The next morning, they were calling in a panic because, "Come on, it's funny." My mom laughed, holding up her wine glass, the Easter centerpiece casting soft shadows over her face. I sat there, silent, with that mug in my hands, the one Ashley just handed me, with a grin that could curdle cream. Stop asking why. Just pay and smile. Everyone laughed. Even Dad chuckled from his end of the table. Ashley raised her glass in a mock toast. "To our sponsor," she said. And then, like it was the punchline she'd been dying to drop all evening, Mom chimed in. "You're not our son. You're our sponsor." The words hung in the air longer than the laughter did. I just wired $18,000 to cover their overdue mortgage, Mom's second root canal, and Ashley's little fender bender that somehow needed a full bumper replacement. I hadn't even unpacked from the business trip I cut short to deal with their emergency. And now this. "Ashley," I said, holding the mug between my palms, "where did you even find this?" "Oh, I had it custom made." She beamed. "Thought it fit. You're always stressing about why you're the one helping everyone. We just thought." "We." I cut in, looking at my mom. "Then Dad." Mom smirked. "Don't be so sensitive. You've always been the generous one." Dad didn't even look up from his phone. "It's just a joke. Relax." "Right. Just a joke." The way they joked last Christmas that I should deduct family expenses from my taxes because you basically run the household. Or how they joked about upgrading their sponsor when I got promoted at work. I looked around the table. Ashley in her overpriced pastel dress, the one I paid for after she said she couldn't afford something appropriate for Easter. Her fiancé Dylan, stuffing his face like it was a free buffet, which, for him, it was. My mom, smiling like she hadn't just used guilt and tears to convince me to pay off her credit card debt. And Dad, absent as always, unless someone needed something fixed, signed, or funded. "Isn't this nice?" Mom added. "A real family holiday." It wasn't nice. It wasn't even real. It was a performance. And I was the sponsor of the whole show. I smiled, the way they wanted me to. And in that exact moment, something inside me quietly, irrevocably snapped. It wasn't always like this. Or maybe it was, and I was just too busy trying to be useful to notice the rot setting in. I grew up thinking love was measured in favors. That being the reliable one meant being the loved one. That if I worked hard enough, gave enough, solved enough, they'd finally look at me like they looked at Ashley. But I was wrong. The truth was, Ashley had always been theirs, their miracle, their pride, their proof that they did something right. And I was a resource, a fallback, a walking safety net, a tool with a heartbeat. It started slow. Always does. When Ashley's first startup tanked, I paid her rent for 3 months. When Mom's dental work got urgent, I covered it twice. When Dad's old buddy couldn't pay back a loan, guess who made sure the lights stayed on at home? Me. Always me. And every time I stepped up, they made it feel like I was making up for something. Like I owed them. "You know, we gave up a lot to raise you," Mom would say when I hesitated to transfer money. "We didn't ask you to be successful so you could hoard it all," Dad added once when I questioned paying for Ashley's car insurance again. Even Ashley had her version. "It's not like we're strangers. We're family. You know I'd help you if things were reversed." But they never were. Because I made sure they weren't. Because I killed myself to be the one who was never in trouble, never in debt, never in need. The first real crack came 6 months ago. Ashley called me crying about Dylan's business. "It's falling apart," she sobbed. "If we don't cover the next round of equipment, he'll lose everything. Please." You know I'd never ask unless we were desperate. I transferred $4,700 that same night. A week later, I saw her tagged in a photo at some luxury vineyard. Laughing, glass of wine in hand. Dylan beside her, flashing a Rolex. The caption? "Weekend well earned." I didn't say anything. Instead, I told myself maybe it was sponsored. Maybe it was old. Maybe she needed the break. But the photos kept coming. Designer shoes. Brunches. New iPhone. And then that Easter dinner, with the mug, the mockery, the sponsored joke. I started combing through my finances after that night. I went back 5 years. $72,850. That's how much I had given them, not loaned, given, and transfers, payments, bailouts, gifts, and emergency covers. My hands shook when I saw the total. I called my bank. Froze 3 joint cards. Changed all my online passwords. Opened a new savings account. Moved the rest of my money there. That night, I got a text from Mom. Mom, hey honey, can you send $600? I forgot to pay the HOA and they're threatening a fine. Just till Monday. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later. Ashley, Mom says you're mad. Is this about the mug? Come on, don't be weird. It's just a joke. Still nothing. Then, at midnight. Mom, we didn't mean anything by it. You know we appreciate you. Don't make this a thing. I stared at the screen. Appreciate me? Like how they appreciated me the night I drove 6 hours in the snow to get Dad from the ER because Ashley had a spa appointment. Like when they left me off the family group trip to Maui because you wouldn't want to waste money on that kind of thing, right? No, this wasn't appreciation. This was addiction. They were addicted to the version of me who paid quietly and asked for nothing. Well, withdrawal's brutal. The next morning, Ashley showed up at my apartment. I opened the door and she barged in like she owned the place. Seriously, she snapped. You're ignoring us now? I leaned against the counter. You mean like how you ignored my last raise, my last birthday, and every time I said I was overwhelmed? She scoffed. You're making a scene over a joke mug? No, I said. I'm making a scene over $72,000 and zero respect. That shut her up. She blinked. What are you talking about? I've tracked every penny I've sent in the last 5 years, I said. Every emergency. Every loan you never paid back. Every phone call that ended with me feeling like I owed you something. Ashley crossed her arms, defensive. We're family. You're supposed to help. No, I said. I did help. I helped you stay comfortable while calling me uptight. I helped Mom pay off her cards while she called me paranoid. I helped Dad with his projects while he told people I was cold. She rolled her eyes. This is so dramatic. What? You're cutting us off now. Going to punish us? I smiled. No, I said quietly. I stopped asking why. And for once, I smiled while saying no. That smile stayed with me the rest of the night. And apparently, word traveled fast, because by the next evening, I got an invite. Family Zoom call. Subject line. Let's clear the air. Ashley sent it. Of course she did. She never could stand not being the center of resolution. I joined the call at 7 p.m. sharp. Ashley looked polished in a way that screamed strategic charm. Mom was all pearls and practice concern. Dad, muted, disengaged, like always. Dylan hovered in the background with his shoulders halfway out of frame, as if afraid guilt was contagious. Hey, there he is. Ashley chirped. Glad you made it. We figured it's time to move on, right? Of course, Mom nodded. It's Easter season. Time to heal. Family first. I smiled, easy, controlled. Glad we're all on the same page. Ashley launched into a self-congratulatory speech about how tension isn't healthy and how we're stronger when we stick together. I listened like it was background jazz. Under the table, I unlocked my phone. Opened my banking app. Ashley was mid-sentence, something about rebuilding trust, when I pulled up the insurance dashboard. Ashley's 2021 Toyota Corolla. Registered in my name. Paid monthly. $249 auto payment. I clicked Cancel Policy. Confirmed. Then switched tabs. DMV portal. Transfer of ownership from me to Ashley. Submitted. Back to banking. One last flourish. Send $1 to Ashley. Message. This is the last dollar you'll ever get from me. Frame it. Click. Done. Her phone buzzed. She blinked, looked down, and scowled. What is this? I sipped my tea. I just took care of something important. Mom squinted. What kind of important? I leaned in. Smiled. Don't worry. You'll feel it by tomorrow. Then I unmuted myself. Clicked, leave meeting. And watched their frozen, confused faces vanish like smoke. The chime on my phone confirmed everything. Payment sent. Insurance canceled. Title transferred. And somewhere in Ashley's inbox, a legal email letting her know she was now the proud, sole owner of her own mess. Ashley's car disappeared from her driveway at exactly 9:17 a.m. I know that because she texted me the moment she realized it. Ashley, did you cancel my insurance? Ashley, seriously? Ashley, my car is gone. Towed. Ashley, you're crazy. Call me now. I didn't answer. An hour later, my mom started calling. Then my dad. Then Dylan. 8 missed calls in under an hour. I knew what was coming next. Dad, text we need to talk. Sunday. 5 p.m. Family only. No excuses. Perfect. I showed up without a smile. Without guilt. Without apologies. They were all there, just like I knew they would be. My mom. arms crossed like a disappointed teacher. My dad, stiff, hands in his lap. Ashley, hair messy, no car keys in sight, phone clutched like a weapon. Dylan sat off to the side, quiet, pale, eyes darting. Sit, Dad grunted. I stayed standing. You think this is funny? Mom snapped. What you did to your sister. The humiliation, the danger. Danger. I raised an eyebrow. You mean, finally making her responsible for her own property? That kind of danger. Ashley jumped in, voice sharp and panicked. You had my car towed. No, I said. You had your car towed. I just stopped paying for it. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Thick, organized, color-coded. $72, $8.50. I said, laying it flat on the coffee table. That's how much I've given this family over the last 5 years. Everyone went silent. I'm not asking anymore. I'm demanding repayment. Mom laughed, a sharp, shaky sound. You can't be serious. Oh, I am, I said. For the first time in my life, I'm dead serious. I opened the folder. Inside, bank statements, transfer records, Zelle screenshots, auto payment schedules, all neatly highlighted. I've split the amount between the three of you, I said. Mom, $23,700. Ashley, $38,600. Dad, $10,550. I expect a payment schedule. I'll give you 90 days. Dad stood up, voice low and angry. You think you can treat your family like debtors? No, I said. I think you've been treating me like an ATM with a guilt complex. I'm just doing the math. Ashley rolled her eyes. So what, you're keeping score now? You said you were doing all this out of love. And you said you respected me. Then you gave me a mug that said stop asking why. Just pay and smile. I reached for another document and slid it toward them. Remember that emergency line of credit I opened for the family 3 years ago? The one Mom called just a formality? I pointed at the signature. It's binding. Legally. So yes, I can sue. The room was frozen. Dylan whispered something under his breath. What? Ashley snapped. He looked at me, then back at her. His voice shook. I told you this would happen. I told you he'd fight back. You told him? She shrieked. Are you kidding me? I trusted you, he said. You said he'd never push back. That he was too soft. Ashley's lip trembled. Mom jumped in again. You're overreacting. You're going to destroy this family. No, I said. I'm just closing my accounts. Then I pulled out the printout of the $1 transfer. I dropped it on the table. Transaction note. This is the last dollar you'll ever get from me. Frame it. And if you think this is betrayal, I said, stepping toward the door, then you haven't even begun to understand what losing me actually means. No one said a word as I left. For the first time ever, they couldn't. The silence was loud. After I walked out of that living room with my folder and their jaws on the floor, no one reached out. No rage texts. No guilt calls. Not even a single passive-aggressive meme from Ashley. It was bliss. For the first time in years, my phone was quiet. Quiet because I'd made it that way, not because they were icing me out. I wasn't frozen. I was free. And yet, as much as I'd love to say I moved on instantly, there was a moment, 3 days after the showdown, where doubt crept in. I was at the grocery store, standing in front of the oat milk aisle, trying to decide whether to switch brands to save a buck, when I thought, what if I was too harsh? What if I could have handled it better? And then, like clockwork, my phone buzzed. It was Ashley. Ashley, just so you know, Mom's blood pressure spiked. She says it's because of the stress you caused. There it was. Like a snake rearing its head, the old pattern slithered back. Blame. Guilt. Emotional blackmail. But this time, I didn't flinch. I typed back 2 words. Me blocked. And I meant it. The fallout was immediate. 2 days later, Mom showed up unannounced at my apartment building. I only knew because the front desk buzzed me. She says she's your mother, and it's an emergency. I didn't even ask what the emergency was. I just said, tell her the sponsor's out of service. Click. But the wildest thing wasn't their desperation. It was how good it felt. I was going to the gym again. Sleeping better. Cooking meals that didn't involve stress scrolling through my banking app. My apartment felt lighter, like it had been carrying ghosts I hadn't noticed until I kicked them out. Then, one night, I got a message I didn't expect. Not from Ashley. Not from my parents. From Dylan. Dylan, I know this is weird, but can we talk? I stared at the screen for a while. I wasn't sure if it was bait. I wasn't sure if he was being used as a puppet. But curiosity won. Me talk. No favors. No guilt. Just talk. Dylan, I get it. I really do. I want to tell you something. Alone. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop the next day. Neutral territory. He showed up looking like he hadn't slept in a week. I'm not here to defend Ashley, he started, sitting down. Good, I said. Because I'm not interested in hearing it. He nodded. I'm here because I think I'm done too. That got my attention. I watched her lie to your face. I watched your parents let it happen. And I kept waiting for them to show some decency, but they didn't. And now, he ran a hand through his hair. Now she's talking about suing you for emotional distress. I blinked. Seriously? He nodded. She's spiraling. And honestly, I don't think she believes it'll work. She just wants to punish you. I leaned back. And where do you stand? He looked me in the eye. I'm out. I'm done financing delusion. I've already spoken to a lawyer. I'm filing for separation. That stunned me more than any punch she could have thrown. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, he added. I should have. You were the only one holding everything together. I was just trying to stay afloat. We sat in silence for a while. Then, right before I left, he handed me an envelope. Inside, a check. $1,000. Memo. Toward what they owe you. I know it's not much, he said. But it's from me. Not them. I figured you deserve to know someone saw you. It was the first time in years I felt the burn of real tears behind my eyes. Not from pain. From validation. That night, I opened my laptop. Pulled up the spreadsheet labeled family debt. Next to Dylan's name, I wrote, paid $1,000, with sincerity. Then I renamed the file. Closure, in progress. I poured myself a glass of wine. The good kind. The kind I used to save for holidays that were always ruined by fake smiles and tighter budgets. This time, I drank to myself. To the peace. To the boundaries. To the freedom of being nobody's sponsor. It's been 3 months. 90 days since I walked out of that house. Since I dropped the folder on their coffee table and left my silence behind. I haven't seen them since. The call stopped around week 4. The texts tapered off by week 6. I heard through mutual friends that Ashley has been taking time to heal, which I assume is code for finding a new fool to fund her lifestyle. I didn't care. I wasn't angry anymore. That's the thing they never understood. When I said, I'm done, I didn't mean mad. I meant finished. Like a chapter closed. Like a door bolted from the inside. I had stopped being a sponsor. And I had started being a man with a future that no longer included guilt, begging, or emotionally bankrupt people with my last name. I took a new job. Out of state. Better salary, less chaos. New apartment. A space that didn't carry the echoes of old phone calls and panicked money requests. I started going to a boxing gym. Not because I wanted to fight, but because I finally could. My schedule was mine again. My money mine. My energy mine. I made friends. Not the kind who wanted something. The kind who remembered your birthday and didn't hand you invoices disguised as emotional need. I even started dating again. Someone calm. Someone kind. Someone who asked, what do you need today? Instead of, can you help just this once? Life wasn't just better. It was real for the first time in a decade. Then, last Sunday, exactly 90 days from the confrontation, something unexpected happened. I got a notification. A deposit. $1. From Mom. The memo? Thought you'd want the mug framed properly. I stared at it for a full minute. At first, I thought it was bait. A joke. A passive-aggressive attempt to pull me back in. But then another notification hit. Another $1. From Dad. Interest. I'm told I owe you more. And then, 30 minutes later, $2.50 from Ashley. No message. Just silence. I couldn't believe it. It was ridiculous. Symbolic. Petty. Maybe it was their way of mocking me. And yet, I laughed. Out loud. For the first time in weeks, I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. Because suddenly, I realized, they were finally doing something I'd begged them to do for years. They were paying me back. In the pettiest, smallest, most begrudging way possible. But it had started. And maybe that's what terrified them most. Not the money. Not the silence. But that I finally made them feel the weight of consequences. But that wasn't the twist. The twist came later that night. I was sitting on my balcony, watching the city lights, sipping a beer, when my phone buzzed again. It wasn't a text. It was a notification from my bank. A payment of $3,000 had been received. Sender, Ashley. Memo, none. I blinked. Refreshed. Checked again. It was real. $3,000. No message. No explanation. But I knew. This wasn't a peace offering. This was fear. Fear that I'd actually go through with legal action. That I wasn't bluffing. That she was no longer in control. She had underestimated me. All of them had. And now? Now they were trying to claw their way back into the version of me who stayed quiet and covered the bill. Only this time, too little, too late. I took a screenshot, filed it in the same folder I used to track their debt. Then I renamed that folder again. Closure confirmed. The next morning, I donated $1,000 of that money to a local women's shelter. The rest? I locked into a new savings account. Label: Rebuilt from Ash. Because that's what this story was. Not revenge. Not punishment. Reclamation. I took back my time, my money, my identity, and most of all, my peace. And as I stood in my new apartment, a place filled with plants and light and not a single trace of forced obligation, I looked around and whispered, "This is what family should feel like."